It'll recording this is recording in process for the girls in the office. That silent.
You're scared.
You know that, right? You know that. The first time.
Yep, it's 7, let's call a meeting in order and return the phones off and stand for the. Please. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States. I'd like to propose a change to the agenda. I'd like to move 5A up to the top there. Second.
Roll call, Mr. Mayor.
Did I get a second?
First, we'll do a roll call, then we'll do that.
All right, you roll.
Jamie Melky.
Here.
Kathy Macho.
Here.
Tom Graham.
Here.
Michael Behrman.
Here.
Wendy Reeves is absent, but we do have a quorum.
She is attending via Zoom, just FYI.
She is.
So Mr. Mayor, what I heard is you'd like to move the section 5A appointing the members to all city boards and commissions up to after citizen comments.
Correct.
Okay.
Maybe in a different, I don't know what order we go in, different than how they're listed.
Okay, yeah, I think we should first see if council wants to do that. If you want to do that, a motion to amend agenda to put 5A right before the consent agenda.
So moved.
I'll second.
Jamie Melky.
Yes.
Michael Behrman.
Yes.
Tom Graham.
Yes,
Kathy Macho.
Yes.
Motion carried.
let's start with the.
Citizen comments.
There's some comments here. Anybody else? Yes,
No, you-
Lisa Nichols, 638 West Bluff Drive. Good evening. I feel the main role of the city council is to represent the city of Harbor Springs and the city's registered voters. That means they need to understand the issues and concerns facing the city by listening, asking questions, doing research on the issues if necessary, and most importantly, being present. To the best of their ability, they need to make thoughtful, informed decisions that will be in the best interests of the city and the city's registered voters. 2 weeks ago, new councilperson Reeves informed us that she's going to miss 2 of the most important meetings for the city because, as she stated, she did not know her term started right away. She thought it started in January. This statement both disappointed me and frankly made me quite worried. She did not know that her term started right away. She thought it started in January. What it conveyed to me is that, number one, she didn't understand her role and obligations for serving on the council. She needs to be present. She needs to be engaged to make the best decision that will benefit the whole city. Secondly, she sure didn't research the responsibilities for the council position during the 3 months she was campaigning, or she would have known when her term started. And thirdly, she doesn't seem invested or committed enough to be present and care about representing the city and the city registered voters in these important discussions and the consequent voting regarding the city's budget and the capital improvement projects. This is a big deal. Councilperson Reeves needs to listen, she needs to ask questions, she needs to be a team player, she needs to be informed, and most importantly, she needs to be present. She needs to start doing her job, which is making the best decisions for the city and representing me and the other city registered voters of Harbor Springs. Thank you.
thank you, Lisa. Anyone else?
Good evening, Karen Ockfield, Birchwood. In the minutes for last week's city council meeting, they referred to my getting up here and talking about getting a camera that swings around, that's, you know, looks at everyone when it's filming for Zoom. And I think that my actual time up here last week was to talk about the idea of communication with all of our out-of-town residents and the people that don't want to come to the meetings. It was with another gentleman, Michael Berman. We talked about Zoom a lot. And so what I'd like to say tonight is, could we in January bring up the improvement of Zoom for the residents and the out-of-town people that take part in our meetings. We did a very casual survey the other day, and about 68% of them said that the sound in the video was not good enough. And so we'd like to encourage it to be improved. The next thing I wanted to talk about was that I've noticed since last February that we have a real beginning of a new social community that's happening around our city government. People are seen in events, friendly or more friendly conversations, increased attendance at the meetings. And these are all the first steps that it takes to engage the community. I think folks are becoming closer. They're less divided, which is a great outcome. The We Love Harbor Springs group have a lot of people who have complained to us that things were disagreeable. And so what we want to do and what we want to say here tonight is that we are going to do everything in our power to make things agreeable, not be disagreeable. And we know that there's been, you know, some of us have gotten a little bit we got our rankles up about some things, but not many. We've all been really good citizens, we think. So I wanted to thank you and hope that you can take something with the Zoom and make it work better for us. Thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else? Chief?
I know we got a long meeting, but I have a special night tonight. Last week we talked about the promotion of a sergeant to the Harbor Springs Police Department. And just to make sure that everybody understands, we did not add a position. We just took somebody within our department and we promoted them to a sergeant. We had a process. I started with a process, put it out to the officers back in November, based on an oral interview in basket, which is basically scenario based, and then also seniority counted part of it, and the performance counted 15%. There was a process explained to all the officers, and we went through that process a week ago, Thursday, I believe, in that interview. The interview panel consisted of Victor, Jack Deegan, a city resident, and then this chief of Charlevoix, Joe McDonald, and the chief of Mackinac City, Todd Wood. So I felt like we had a really good panel, and we went through that process, had our interviews. Like I explained last week, Josh didn't put in for it because he's a year and a half from retirement, and Dan Steele did put in for it because he's only been here a year. So the middle guys to put in for it: Spencer, Tyler Swiss, Tyler Hoff, and Nick Strobel. And it went awesome. The panel did a good job. They were impressed. And I want to read what the chief from Charlevoix said. She's Joe McDonald. She said, "Thanks for trusting me to participate in your promotions. I hope you took pride in your people for doing so well and making the choice difficult. This is a good problem to have." And they all did well. They made me proud. I sat on the other side of the table. They sat here, and you sort of put your department on display. All four of them are people I hired. And tonight it's an honor and a privilege for me to bring Spencer Bishop. He scored the highest of everybody. Clearly, Al Reber was the last sergeant, probably 40 or 50 years ago. We're in need of a sergeant. The responsibilities that are on the chief with the training and with our accreditation, I needed somebody to help me, and I'm not getting any younger. And so Spencer did phenomenal. He basically made our decision for us. And so I want to acknowledge the job he brought with him. I'll let him introduce and he can talk. First of all, he gets a new badge, 8320. His old number was 8326. It'll be 8320, and I'm going to invite his mother and his wife, and they can pin the badge on.
Finally gonna get some good leadership at the top, are we?
Here we are. I'll tell Branson you said that too. No, Spencer did a phenomenal job. They all did. They made me proud. They're all could be my sons, and they all made me proud. But Spencer knocked it out of the park. Grandsons. Yeah.
Careful, Nick.
And the neatest thing, and I've spoke about this before, they're expecting Tyler, Nick's expecting again. Tyler Hoff just had a child, so it's really neat. Our department's growing in itself. But go ahead, Spencer.
Hello, you've honored. My name is Spencer. Just want to say I'm honored to accept the privilege of sergeant to work here in Harbor Springs. I want to give a special thank you to Chief Knight, City Council for making this a position available, and City Administrator Victor. I know it's a tough process, a difficult decision for Chief to make. There was only 4 of us, and all the guys I work with are awesome. I've only been here for 2 years. I was a sheriff deputy in Grand Traverse County for 6 years. So I stepped in and I felt like I was immediately accepted, and we're a tight-knit family at the police department. Harbor Springs is a special place to me. I grew up here in the summertime, though I did not graduate from school. Who I have here with me tonight is, I guess I don't need to speak in that, kind of the feedback's making it difficult. My wife, Adriana, my mother, Janice, and my grandfather, Bob. And I wish that someone was here tonight with me was my grandmother Dorothy, who passed this past April. She's was the bedrock of our family and the reason why I started visiting this area. And again, just thank you. I'm so humbled and honored to take on this role. And like I said, Harbor Springs is a special place. And I hope to carry on the legacy that this man has set down for myself and my coworkers, and look forward to working with them in this new capacity. Thank you.
He worked very hard to get to this position, and showed in his interview and his past, so. Thank you for giving us the time, thank you.
Thank you.
Anybody else like to speak?
He's gotta go to work now.
Let's move into the board and city assignments. Then.
All right, Mr. Mayor, I will just give a quick recap of the process, and then I know I understand the council can decide which order they want to do the boards in. The order I put on the packet was not necessarily the order you have to do it. It was just, there's a lot of names to organize there, so I put them in. All right, so the city has a policy, our board's recruitment and application policies, as we must appoint our board members on the third Monday in December. It aims to create boards that are composed of individuals from different backgrounds, different ideas, representing different geographic, age, and economic segments of the city. So one of our key points of our policy is to represent diversity, right? You don't want same thought, you want different thoughts on the board, so you could represent the community as a whole and come to the best decision for the community. So that's one thing to keep in mind. Our policy, as you probably read through it, it has ideal qualifications for certain boards, not necessary or required qualifications, but each board and commission has different areas they focus on, right? And so if you're, for example, we use example, if you're into taxes, board of review might be your thing. And not a lot of people are into taxes, so you can apply for that one. All right, so going through the rules here, because there's a lot of different rules that apply to different boards. First of all, there are no limits to how many board members can serve on any of how many boards they can serve on, except for the zoning boards of appeals and planning commission. You only can have one member who serves on the ZBA that serves on the planning commission. Second is city ordinance number 432 states that an individual must be a registered voter in order to serve on a city board. There are exceptions, I'll go through them. It also says one of the exceptions is if you're not a city registered voter and you're domiciled in a city and not registered to vote somewhere else, and you can also serve on a board. There's very few people who are domiciled here and not registered to vote elsewhere, but that is just one exception. So the other exceptions here we have are for the planning commission, up to 2 planning commission members can be registered voters of another municipality. We currently already have 1 planning commission member who is registered in another township. So you can have up to 1 other one serve on the planning commission, but it's not required. Planning commission also has state law specifically has requirements or desires for the planning commission. As we stated earlier, for all of our boards, they should be of different professional backgrounds and represent different occupations. Those include segments of the community such as economic, governmental, educational, and social development, interests in agriculture, natural resources, recreation, education, public health, housing, transportation, government, and commerce. So that's state law. That's what state law looks for in a planning commission. It also states that the planning commission membership shall be representative of the entire territory of the local unit of government to the extent practical. So that means you don't just have everyone on the planning commission from downtown or from uptown. You want to have a variety of people from different areas of town. For the DDA, a majority of the members must have an interest in a property in the downtown district or must be officers, members, trustees, principals, or employees of a legal entity in the downtown district. So we have 9 members on the DDA, over half of them have to be, the other half the other members can be registered voters anywhere else. And those that have an interest in downtown, they don't have to be registered voters. So you can have a business owner who owns a business on the DDA but doesn't live in the city limits. For the Harbor Commission, our bylaws are kind of a little more flexible. It says that it shall consist of individuals representing different groups using or bordering the harbor insofar as possible. This is within council's discretion. So that means, if there's a group, you can have members from the township, from the city, all members of the city, as long as they're representing the different people who use and border the harbor. And finally, for the board of review, one main qualification is you have to be a property owner, so you can't rent property to serve on the board of review, you have to own property, and this is from the city charter. All right, so back to the process before we go forward, for the downtown, the DDA and the planning commission, those are made by mayoral nomination, so the mayor brings up the name, and then the council either confirms or doesn't confirm the the mayor's nomination. For the rest of the boards, any council member can bring up a name to appoint, and then it goes the same process. But the council either confirms or moves on to another candidate. So the way I recommend going forward is the mayor or the council motions to nominate one individual at a time. And then if that motion receives a second, then you can have a discussion and or a vote on that motion. If that motion does not receive a second, then you go on to another name. I'll let you all should choose which order you want to do the boards in, but before we get into that, I think we should first open it up to public comment and for anyone that wants to speak on behalf of themselves or behalf of others that have applied, and then close the public comment section for this and then move on to the appointments.
Let's open up the public comment then. Mr. Karen, Madam Karen.
Hi, Karen Outfield, Birchwood. So the only thing I really want to say is that what we would love for you all to do tonight for us is to balance the board. To give us people that weren't just no voters, that were against changing the zoning. And so that we have a nice balance, new people. We've encouraged that throughout the community. We sent out a letter asking people to write in, and thank you for all the letters that were sent in. The fresh perspectives. I'm a big believer in protecting historical knowledge, but I believe that historical knowledge can be in the audience during meetings and provide robust get-togethers. So thank you.
Anyone else? Let's move on to the appointments. Start with the sewer authority. Okay.
Council members, if you could turn on your mics when you do speak, Sarah. So
We have two applicants.
we have two applicants, they're on the board,
For one position.
for one position, yes. So
How
someone,
often does the sewer authority meet?
once a month.
Once a month.
Someone wants to make a nomination.
I nominate David Lamarche. I'll second.
Motion made, and seconded to nominate David Martin. Any discussion? Oh,
Jamie Melky,
Yes.
Tom Graham,
yes.
Kathy Macho,
Yes.
Michael Behrman,
Yes.
motion carried.
Go to the Harbor Commission. 4-year term.
Two open positions.
I would like to nominate Jim Bartlett.
I'll second.
Motion made and seconded for Bartlett.
Michael Behrman,
Well,
Any discussion?
discussion?
I can say, he's been on that board a long time, and I've been on that board, and he works real hard at the job and does a good job.
I agree that Jim does a great job. I think he's been on a not quite for sure, maybe nine terms. You know, we do talk about bringing new people in and fresh people in. I think that is important. On the other hand, the Harbor Commission is undergoing a huge project. You know, with a new harbor master building. So it's a struggle for me, to be quite honest with you, because I think Jim's outstanding. On the other hand, it's nice to get new leadership as well, for people coming in, and this is something that we've been talking about. So I won't lie to anybody, this is a real struggle for me, real struggle. It's one of those that you wish you didn't have to be here voting on something like this, so. But that's why I'm here.
Vote for experience.
Well,
I don't know if any of my council colleagues.
I agree with Michael, that is the challenge. I have discussed this, and I served on the Harbor Commission last year. JB does an excellent job, and but I'm of the same mind. I'd like to see new blood where we can. There is a lot of history with the Harbor Commission, and I think we could always discuss how important it is to consider the history and revere the history, and some of that information is available, and I would hope that a chair or anybody who'd been on the commission in the past is familiar with it would be willing to volunteer and to help, even if he weren't, weren't reappointed.
Any other comments?
So I do have a motion and I do have a second.
Good.
Michael Behrman,
No,
Jamie Melky,
No.
Kathy Macho,
No.
Tom Graham.
Yes,
Motion failed.
I would like to make a motion to appoint George Peak to the Harbor Commission. Second or not? Motion for Kevin Blunt, Harbor Commission. Got a motion for Maggie Lacy.
Can I make a motion for Gail Stevens?
I'll second.
Motion made and seconded for Gail Stevens. Any discussion?
Take a roll call, Mr. Mayor.
Yes, sir.
Tom Graham,
Yes.
Kathy Macho,
Yes,
Michael Behrman,
Yes.
Jamie Melky,
Yes,
motion carried.
One more position.
One more we need for nominate Ron Turner. I would nominate Carol Gargaro. And I'd like to nominate Sophia Franciscus. You can see this isn't all prearranged, at
No, yeah.
least on my side.
I would like to nominate Eric Winslow.
I would second that.
Motion made and seconded for Eric Winslow. Any discussion?
Kathy Macho,
yes,
Tom Graham,
No.
Michael Behrman,
Yes.
Jamie Melky,
Yes,
motion carried.
Let's go to the DDA here.
Okay, there are 4 open positions on the DDA. One of them is to fill a term that was vacated this year that has 3 years left. So you should specify whether it's a 4-year term or a 3-year term, Mr. Mayor.
Let's do the 3-year term first. I'd like to nominate Allison Larson. I'd like to nominate Maggie Lacy.
I'll second.
Motion made and seconded for Maggie Lacy. Any discussion?
Jamie Melky,
yes,
Kathy Macho,
Yes,
Michael Behrman,
Yes.
Tom Graham,
Yes.
motion carried.
I'd like to nominate Ron Turner. I'd like to nominate Gail Brown.
I'll second.
Any discussion?
no, or other than to say that, yes, she is currently on the DDA. However, is only a certain part of a term. And I feel like the DDA has been making good progress on their goals. So I'd like to see Gail be able to continue.
I have a motion and a second. Michael Behrman,
Yes.
Kathy Macho,
Yes,
Tom Graham,
Yes.
Jamie Melky.
Yes,
Motion carried.
We got 2 more to do?
Yeah, 2 more.
Sophia, Sophia Franciscus.
I believe, I think it was that she's ineligible because she didn't indicate if she's a downtown property.
Okay.
Interest in downtown.
They on the board have any, what do they like to see on here?
Should the mayor continue
So,
nominating? I'm not quite sure.
so I guess the question is, you guys have any thoughts, but if you do, you can't make a motion to nominate someone, it would have to come from the mayor.
I would say Sarah Esselbrenner. She hasn't even served a full term yet, and I think that she's been a great asset to the DDA. And I would like to continue to see her, see what she has to offer.
Okay. Motion for Sarah,
I'll second.
motion made in second, any discussion on her?
Tom Graham,
Yes.
Michael Behrman,
Yes,
Jamie Melky,
Yes.
Kathy Macho,
Yes,
motion carried.
Nominate Bob Feldman. Board members have any other interest, anybody? Open suggestion.
excuse me, I mean. We have 2 restaurateurs on the list. Excuse me. I'm sorry. Hope I missed that.
Burners off.
I'm sorry, my cough.
There you go.
A sonic screech that deafened everybody.
Is that a control mechanism or?
yeah,
We have 2.
okay.
No, okay, we have 2 restaurant owners that have restaurants in the downtown area. Would the council give thought to any of them? Or Mr. Mayor?
How many around the Trozac? I would nominate Nikki Law.
I'll second.
Motion made for Nikki Law and seconded. Any discussion?
Jamie Melky,
Yes.
Tom Graham,
Yes.
Kathy Macho,
Yes,
Michael Behrman,
No,
motion carried.
That'll fill that one. To the Board of Review, we need two people, one is an alternate and one.
Yes, any council member can nominate.
I nominate Richard Babcock.
I second that. Nomination for Dick Babcock. Any discussion or second?
I just wanted to speak to this, as my understanding is that the Board of Review requires more education and training than most of the other boards. I mean, specifically formal training, is that correct?
Yes, that's correct.
It is, okay. So okay, and Mr. Babcock is a current member or an alternate?
He's an alternate member.
I do have a motion and a second. Any more discussion? Jamie Melky,
Yes.
Michael Behrman,
yes,
Kathy Macho,
Yes,
Tom Graham,
Yes.
motion carried.
And did you, just to clarify, was that as an alternate or a member?
Okay, he should be a member.
I think
Okay, as a member.
members, what I was thinking,
Okay.
yes, sorry.
We need one more for an alternate.
I would nominate Matt Bugera.
For a second.
I'll second.
Motion made and seconded for Matt Vigera for the Board of Review. Any discussion?
Tom Graham,
Yes.
Jamie Melky,
Yes.
Michael Behrman,
Yes,
Kathy Macho,
Yes,
motion carried.
so he would be the alternate.
Yeah.
Okay,
So the Tree Advisory Board.
I'll nominate Carol Leonard.
second,
Did you second, Jamie?
I did. Or I made the motion. Michael said.
Any other discussion on the motion?
Kathy Macho,
Yes.
Michael Behrman,
Yes.
Jamie Melky.
Yes.
Tom Graham,
No.
motion carried.
Need one more person for the board. I'll nominate Carol Gargel for the tree board. Any other nomination? We need one. I'll nominate Bob Toma. For the tree board.
Second.
Motion,
Second, okay.
motion made for Bob Toma for the tree board and seconded. Any discussion? Call roll.
Kathy Macho,
Yes.
Tom Graham,
Yes.
Michael Behrman,
Yes.
Jamie Melky,
Yes.
motion carried.
Parks board.
There's three open positions.
Three open positions.
If the council members can appoint.
I'll nominate Danny Rocher.
Okay, motion for Danny Roker. Do I hear a second?
I'll second that.
Any discussion?
Michael Behrman,
Yes.
Jamie Melky,
Yes.
Kathy Macho,
Yes.
Tom Graham,
Yes.
motion carried.
Any other nominations? We need two more.
Hmm.
I'd like to nominate Cindy. I'm not sure. Jeremy, no? We got another nomination?
I'll nominate Sarah McLean.
I'll second that.
Nominations made and seconded for Sarah McLean for the Parks Board. Any discussion?
Tom Graham,
Yes.
Jamie Melky.
Yes.
Michael Behrman,
Yes.
Kathy Macho,
Yes,
motion carried.
Michael, I think you can use that one. I took the bad one. Oh, yeah. I took the bad one, the bad. one.
oh,
You guys have-
we need one more.
Yes, one more.
I nominate Dick Swerdhout.
I'd second that.
Motion made and seconded for Dick Swerdhout. Any discussion?
Kathy Macho,
Yes,
Jamie Melky,
Yes.
Tom Graham,
Yes.
Michael Behrman,
Yes.
motion carried.
As a zoning board of appeals.
There are 3 open positions, one of those is an alternate. So please indicate whether that alternate is.
I'll nominate Susan Stewart.
second,
Motion is made to nominate Susan Stewart. No second, any discussion?
Roll call, Tom Graham,
Yes.
Jamie Melky,
Yes.
Kathy Macho,
yes,
Michael Behrman,
Yes.
motion carried.
oh, did we say that was a full?
That's a full term.
Okay.
We have one more full term.
I'll nominate Ron Turner.
I'll second that. Motion is made and seconded for Ron Turner. Any discussion?
All right, Kathy Macho,
Yes,
Tom Graham,
Yes.
Michael Behrman,
Yes.
and Jamie Melky.
Yes.
Motion carried. As a full member, correct?
Now we need an alternate for an alternate. You got an idea there? Nominate Jamie Jenkins.
I'll second.
Motion made and seconded for Jamie Jenkins to be the alternative to the zoning ZBA. Any discussion?
Michael Behrman,
Yes.
Jamie Melky.
Yes.
Tom Graham,
Yes.
and Kathy Macho.
yes,
Motion carried.
Planning commission is next, there are 3 open positions. And this is by mayoral
I
nomination.
would like to nominate Chip Everett.
Second.
Motion made and seconded to nominate Chip Everett to the planning commission. Any discussion?
Jamie Melky.
Yes.
Wait, I did wanna just bring something up, I think Chip would be outstanding, he does serve on the Harbor Commission, and I know that that's the only consideration We like to kind of spread things around a little bit. Having said that, I think he's an outstanding choice. It's, but typically we get the most applications, at least this round we did for.
You can speak up.
So I mean, we can see that there were the most applications for both Harbor Commission and Planning Commission. I think Chip is great. That's why I seconded it. My only consideration was he does serve on the Harbor Commission as well. I don't know if that makes a difference for other council members.
Doesn't bother me, a bunch of us are on more than one committee.
I do have a motion, I do have a second.
You have any more discussion?
Kathy Macho,
Yes,
Tom Graham,
Yes.
Jamie Melky,
Yes.
and Michael Merriman.
Yes.
Motion carried.
Like to nominate Melissa Georges for a position on the planning commission. I would like to nominate Scott Heston for the planning commission. To nominate Allison Larson for the planning commission. I'd like to nominate Warner Brown for the Harbor Commission or for the planning commission. I'd like to nominate Sophia Franciscus. I'd like to nominate Mike Kilborn. Nominate Bing Howenstein. Nominate Kenny Stewart.
I'll second.
Motion made for Kenny Stewart for the planning commission, seconded. You'll have any discussion?
Tom Graham,
Yes.
Michael Behrman,
Yes.
Jamie Melky,
Yes.
Kathy Macho.
yes.
Motion carried.
What do we, 3 more we need?
No, one more.
One more. I'll nominate Bill Buckner for planning commission.
I'd second that.
Motion made and seconded. Bill Buckner for
Bob-
planning.
Bob
I guess it's Bob.
Excuse me.
Oops.
I will again point out that I believe Bob serves as an alternate on ZBA. That is a committee where you could have one planning commission member serve on ZBA. It's been my experience on ZBA that actually is a good thing. Since ZBA hears variances from the zoning code, I think it's helpful actually to have that connection to planning commission.
There isn't, is at present with the appointments we just made to the ZBA, do we have anybody on? We don't.
No, the individual coming off was both on the PC and the ZBA.
Oh, okay.
Any more discussion?
Jamie Melky,
Yes.
Kathy Macho,
Yes,
Tom Graham,
Yes.
and Michael Behrman.
Yes.
Motion carried. These minutes are gonna take me 3 days.
you better start,
I know you're old, you're getting slow too, huh?
Yeah.
you better start tomorrow.
I believe that goes for everything. doesn't it?
Yep,
Yeah.
so we're done with the appointments.
Yeah.
Thank you. We can move on to consent agenda.
Anybody in the audience have any questions on the consent agenda or comments?
If you have a hand raised,
The minutes for the DDA say that the meeting is coming Thursday. It was last Wednesday.
I will get that taken care of.
Thank you.
we do have Patrick Kenny online.
Hi, I'm here. I'm sorry. I'd like to make a comment if I may.
Is this about the consent agenda?
Uh, This is about the requirements to serve on the committees. My name is Patrick Kenny.
So
Somewhere else.
where we're at, the consent agenda item.
I understand, but I think in the
Mayor,
inclusivity
you
of
want-
the,
Mr. Mayor, do you want to continue on speaking or?
Sure.
Okay,
thank you. I'm Patrick Kenny. I reside at 134 West Bay Street, and I recently applied to serve on the Park and Recreation Board. I want to address the rule that limits eligibility for city committees to registered voters. In March of 2022, City Council voted to define resident for board and commission's eligibility as registered voter. This decision excluded homeowners who contribute to the tax base and support local businesses and causes. It prevents 60% of our community from participating meaningfully. This rule contradicts the city's own messaging. The city's website on multiple occasions encourages all citizens to participate in local government, emphasizing inclusivity, diverse perspectives, and community-wide involvement. The city board recruitment and application policy states, quote, "The city aims to create boards composed of individuals with diverse backgrounds, opinions, and interests, as well as residents who represent different geographic, age, and economic segments of the city." Yet this rule automatically excludes the majority of property owners from participating. For over 37 years, my wife and I have paid taxes, donated generously, and supported the community. I want to serve, not as a voter, but as a committed member of Harbor Springs. Please recognize that in our household of 37 years, my wife is able to participate by virtue of your rules, but I cannot. I applaud Council Member Berman for calling on all of us to come together as a community, to come to the table, to work cohesively. This is a defining opportunity to do just that, to bring seasonal and full-time residents together around a shared table and move forward as one. I urge you to seize this moment, remove this outdated rule, and allow more residents to participate. Harbor Springs, as we all know, is a very unique community. The fact of the matter is that it's unique for a multitude of reasons, and we should all recognize those reasons and allow all of us to come to the table to work together. Thank you.
Thank you, Patrick. Any other comments? Everybody else on Zoom?
We're on the consent agenda.
Over the minutes from the last couple of meetings.
We would need, if you want to pull out the minutes, we can, but normally the consent agenda, we make a motion to adopt the items unless there's just want to have a discussion on a particular item.
Okay.
If there isn't a particular item, I move we approve the consent agenda.
I'll second that.
Motion been made to approve the consent agenda. Any discussion?
I'll take a roll call. Michael Behrman,
Yes.
Tom Graham,
Yes.
Jamie Melky.
Yes.
And Kathy Macho.
Yes,
Motion carried.
And Bill, do you want to talk about?
We approve those with the consent agenda. All right, Mayor, we can move on to the discussion section in 3A, which is approving and adopting the 2024 amended budget and the 2025 proposed budget. We held a public hearing last week. Council took public comments and discussed the budget. That was that, yeah. I'll fix that after the meeting. I'm sorry, I don't know. I just got all out of whack. Anyway, so we had the council had one request that was to add line items for programs and events, the general fund revenue and the parks expenditures section. So those changes are reflected in the updated budget. There were no other changes suggested at the time. So at this point, council can review and discuss the budget, and then you can also take public comment and then make a motion to adopt attached resolutions. I don't know, Nick, should those resolutions be done separately?
I just assumed do them separately. Yeah.
Okay. One resolution for the 2024 amended budget and then one resolution for the 2025 proposed.
I'll make a motion to approve the 2024 amended budget.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Motion to, and second to approve the 24 amended budget. Any discussion?
Tom Graham,
Yes.
Kathy Macho,
yes,
Michael Behrman,
Yes.
Jamie Melky.
Yes.
All in favor? Or, Motion carries.
Have a motion to adopt the proposed 25 budget.
I move we adopt the proposed 2025 budget.
I'll second.
Motion made and seconded to approve the 25 proposed budget. Any discussion?
Michael Behrman,
Yes.
Kathy Macho,
Yes,
Tom Graham,
Yes.
and Jamie Melky.
Yes.
Motion carried.
Thank you. We will move on to the capital improvements plan. Just agenda item number B, agenda item B. So the capital improvements plan, as I get down to there, we had a presentation at last week's public hearing. We received some public. One change that was made to the capital improvements plan is council had asked us to make a note that the sidewalks we have sidewalk project plan, a big project plan for 2026. We're hoping to do a big project then and along the West Hill Council. Anyway, so council proposed that we add a note about sidewalks, that we may not be using all the funds for the 2025 sidewalks, and we can carry some over for the 2026 sidewalk project. So we did make that note in the capital improvements plan.
Considering to take public comment.
Yeah, Mr. Mayor, if you want to take any public comment before council discusses.
You may, Gallery would like to comment on that. Question, is there gonna be any assessments on the sidewalk then?
Assessments?
Yes,
No special assessments, no.
even though a bunch of property owners own front on it.
So the city used to require a split between the property owners and the city to repair sidewalks, but after we passed the street millage in 2018, we came up with a plan that would spend 10% of the street millage to go toward sidewalk repairs.
I have a question. What about new sidewalk? Is that an assessment situation? If it was brand new?
I don't think so.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thanks.
But a lot of those sometimes can be dealt with at the planning commission level. If, for example, if someone is proposing a new development, then you could require them to put sidewalks in. However, for existing developments that want sidewalks, I don't think we would require special assessment.
Any other discussion on the capital improvement plan? Anybody on the board here?
We do have Wendy has her hand up. Wendy,
I'm wondering about the security camera at the DPW building. Is there a problem?
there is no problem per se. However, it was noted that when we put security cameras here at City Hall for election purposes, as well as for child custody drop-offs, we discussed whether and where, if we needed security cameras elsewhere, and our DPW director and a police chief at the time thought it'd be a good idea because we have such a large amount of property and valuable equipment at the DPW, and it's tucked away far from our vision, that it would be, might be a good idea to have some security cameras up there.
Okay. And then on the Shea Park development, it says path and landscaping connecting the boat and the train. It's in the 2025 and you want to do 30,000 in it. Does that include purchasing the train, or is just that the landscaping and the path?
That is just for the path and the landscaping. The train is being, the Historical Society fundraised for that train to get it donated, to bring back to the city. So that's not the city's involved. We're not spending any money on the train.
Okay.
Access to a stairway that.
It would include stairway, and there's talks with the neighbors there, hopefully to donate some money for the project.
And then on the State Street narrowing, it doesn't say how wide State Street currently is. It says it's going to be narrowed to 26 feet, but how wide is it now?
That is a good question. Let me see if Lucas is on to see if he can answer that question. Lucas?
Yeah, currently it's right around 34, back a curb to back a curb.
And it would be
26.
And it looks like East Bluff Drive is being narrowed for the first few feet of it from 26 feet to 24 feet.
Yes, there is a small section where it is narrowed there.
And what I'm wondering is, have we done a safety study on this corner to see if it helps it to narrow both of those streets and make the road safer? Or should we consider doing that?
We have not done a safety study.
Chief Lyle, you have any comments on the safety study?
We talked about it at length when we talked about the project. I have concerns about narrowing it too much just because of the vehicle traffic, trucks going northbound in the winter. So with Lucas and I talked about it, narrowing on Bluff Drive, I think is fine because it's gonna help our vision, see down the hill. We'll be able to push that hill back a little bit to the north. My only concern is just narrowing State Street going north.
Most people will not stop at that stop sign. They drift right through it until they hit that 119.
And what we're hoping to do is like similar to, we've discussed this when we talked about the project, is similar to 31 and 131 in order to help guide people around that corner. So maybe put like a dotted line to show the path, because people cut that corner too close, going westbound on Bluff, turning left on the State, to then go down the hill.
Tough corner.
Yes. For those who weren't here when we had the discussion, we've had, I believe it was 19 crashes in the last 11 years at that corner. The majority of them were people sliding, coming down the hill in the winter. As far as people running the stop sign, I believe we only had one crash, but I got all the documents over there. But I believe we only had one crash from somebody actually running through the stop sign and failed to use. A lot of close calls, knock on wood, but no. Does that answer your question, Mayor?
Pretty well, yes. Thank you. All I know is I use that corner every day, and there's people coming down, even though I'm already at the stop sign going west on Bluff Drive. I can't pull out if there's somebody coming down. 9 out of 10 would hit you. I could see a sign up either stop 50 feet ahead or 100 feet ahead, stop at the sign.
I would agree, pushing the stop sign back a little bit might encourage people to actually stop.
Put one sign here, right underneath the stop sign.
Right.
Right. And we did the same thing coming down Judd Hill. We put a marker in the roadway on 3rd Street to basically signify where to stop. And we can do the same thing up there.
Would be helpful, I think, sir.
I think the other thing is, it's gonna be regraded. Is it not? So that, for traffic going southbound on State, turning left on, continuing downtown, turning left, hopefully they'll have a better vantage point of traffic coming up the hill that, with the regrading of that, because right now you have to creep up, or else you can't see traffic coming up the hill. So hopefully with that regrading, it'll help with the vision lines and such.
I would also like to add that we did went out to bid, council approved this project, and we went out to bid, and we're reviewing those bids, so, council had committed to this project.
When do you hope to do this project?
It'll probably be in the fall, Lucas, right? Lucas, do we have a slate in the fall?
Yeah, it'd be a fall project for 2025.
I recall, Lucas, the narrowing of the south, north and south State Street had to do with, flood control, correct?
Yes, to help reduce some of the stormwater runoff coming down State Street.
Okay, so the narrowing wasn't necessarily for safety, correct?
Correct.
Thank you.
Any other discussion on capital improvement plan?
Do you want us
This is Wendy again, and what I'm wondering is if this project isn't slated to start until the fall, maybe we have time to do a little more investigation into the reasons for doing this. We could have a presentation maybe by Benchmark Engineering onto their thoughts on how we're spending this money.
Fair.
Yeah, yes, sir.
We did discuss this probably, 9 months ago at length. And the biggest reason that Lucas and I agree with is that waffling in the roadway going down that hill, it's only getting worse. And if something's gonna cause an accident, like especially this winter, that the chatter bumps or whatever you want to call it, that's the main reason behind my understanding. And that's actually, that section's gonna be replaced with concrete. So hopefully we won't have that in the future.
We did do some concrete there a few years ago, I know.
So we did present to council, but it's up to council if you want to relook at this matter.
I'd be glad to relook at it.
I think we can talk about it when we get to line item about it. Or the discussion item about the bids.
Yeah, I think we should discuss it when we discuss the bid. I don't see any need to. We've approved the project to go forward.
Do you want us to discuss your memo before, after, or during this approval?
For the capital improvements plan?
Yeah,
I guess when we get to there, or if we still have any other questions about from public or anyone else about the capital improvements plan. Okay, so we do, at the December 2nd, one of the council meetings, I think it was December 2nd, Parks Director Rachel Rooney had asked council to give some thought to the prioritization of fundraising for certain projects such as Boardwalk especially, and if council wants the city to focus on that project, it's in our capital improvements plan, it's been on our agenda for a while, and how serious and how committed are you want staff to be to fundraising for that project, or are there other projects that you believe are more important for fundraising? And so we just want some feedback. Parks wants that feedback so they know how to direct their time and efforts in 2025. And this would be for the eastern section of the boardwalk. It's closed right now.
I'd like to see that done.
That's 2026, isn't it?
Right, but for fundraising, we'd have to start focusing more heavily fundraising on 2025 to get the money for 2026.
There ever been any discussion on maybe continuing the boardwalk up where the boat trail used to be there? From where the bench is, 99% of the kids that go down there, they never went down to Spring Street.
So I don't know, Jim, correct me if I'm wrong, but the only easement by right that we have there is for where the existing boardwalk is. We'd have to get easements from the other property owners. Yeah, I understand.
That would be a good improvement. I know you don't have an easement, doesn't mean you maybe couldn't get one.
So the question is, whether or not we want the Parks Board to pursue fundraising for the eastern section of the boardwalk, correct?
Do you want Parks to take a more active fundraising role in that, or just continue as they are as passive fundraising? as aggressively as we did it for the western half.
Mr. Mayor, if I may.
And sorry about the microphones, it's probably best to keep them off until we figure out what the issue is. No, just, we can.
Dana Mulder, Summit Street, and I'm chair of the Parks Board, and I think Rachel also had asked another thing, and that was, we're very much interested in beefing up our fundraising skills. And what we'd like to do for the boardwalk is hire a firm. We've talked to them once, just via Zoom call, but to give us advice on that particular project, and then also get some procedures in place to help us on future projects for fundraising. I think the number they quoted was $3,000 or $4,000, something like that. I think it'd be really well spent. DDA could sit in, Harbor Commission, other groups that, you know, also have responsibilities for fundraising. So maybe that's a small item that doesn't get put in the budget by council, but we'd love to have the city pay for all of it, but I think it's sure worth a try and do something like that.
Something better than this.
Yep.
Any other comment?
I guess I'm not. At this point, I'm sorry, I hadn't thought about this, having to think about this for 25, but the few people that I've talked to don't seem to be overwhelmingly enthusiastic about doing that second part of the boardwalk. So I'm wondering if I'm not sure that talking about fundraising tonight, I'm not sure I'm really ready for that. Is that piece of it we could table until January?
You could, yes.
You think? Is that?
Fine with me.
I think that it's something that we can definitely table right now, but I think that Parks really needs direction from council as far as what we expect of them, because all of their projects are listed in the CIP as donations, grants, and then general. And if they don't raise funds through donations, or if they don't get grants, are we going to be willing to give them money, or are we going to just continue to push off all of these projects? And so I do think that this is a really important topic of conversation.
We do have a comment on fundraise on Zoom, but I'm gonna go to Sarah's iPhone. I guess Sarah McLean.
Hi there, my name is Sarah McLean. I live at 50 Washington Court. One thing I'd just love for council to consider is that if our parks director is spending time fundraising, then she's not spending time doing other things such as creation of recreation activities, maintenance, and upkeep and new ideas. So just concerns over that. I'd rather see her working on other items versus fundraising for some very, very large city projects. And if that's something that we as a city decide that's important, I think we need to really consider how much money is being asked to be fundraised by the board.
Thank you.
Anyone else?
All right, so what I hear is an idea to table the parks fundraising to January.
Yes. By default, I think.
Yes. Yes.
Okay.
I
All right.
think so.
Just
We need
looking
a
for
formal
something.
motion or?
No, I just was looking for
Okay.
consensus. I will be in January 20th meeting. All right, then we have the capital improvements plan to vote on and approve if you have no changes to it.
Make a motion on that.
Was that a motion, Tom, or were you asking?
No, I was asking for one.
I'll make a motion to approve.
I'll second.
Michael Behrman,
Yes.
Jamie Melky.
Yes.
Tom Graham.
Yes.
And Kathy Macho.
Yes.
Request from the chamber?
Yeah, Chamber Foundation. Yep, the Chamber Foundation has a request to close State Street for street music. This was discussed at council near the springtime of the week, and then they asked council to come back in the fall. This is still fall technically, so.
Yeah, till
So, Chamber Foundation will make the request to council, and the council should still.
That close it for every Thursday? Just when they have special music.
No, kind of, but the bigger groups will be on State, and the children's activity at Top Street, face painting, those activities will be on State. And you saw the numbers of it. We did we all took turns with the counter all summer, which was quite interesting. We learned a lot about traffic patterns and what the families did. People sitting at Pearson's whose kids got to run across the street and get their face painted. It was just what I didn't expect. And so we're asking again for just a chunk. So what the first week is Blessing of the Fleet, and we have all activity on the waterfront for street music. And then this year there are 5 Thursdays in July. So those 5 Thursdays, the first one in August, and then the second one in August is Car Fest, which we don't close. And the final one, I would be more than happy to not have music on the street. It was a lot, as you saw by the numbers, a lesser crowd. And I think if we didn't have someone on State, we might get more traffic elsewhere. I have a problem with making sure, I want to make sure the musicians have people, and we do pay them, but I don't want a slim crowd in front of them. So we would be looking at the five Thursdays in July and the first Thursday in August. The other 3 around 9 season, no. Yes, there's some inconsistency with that, and that does concern us a bit. But I think for traffic patterns and for the musicians and for the people, those 6 would be just fine.
Would you mind reviewing how many just in general for street music?
How many locales we have?
Right, how many?
Yeah, we have 4 locations for music. So
Okay.
we do Waterfront, State, Johans, and Finishing Dutch. And then we have kids' activities separately, Yummies, and the Top of State. So 6 groups that we're paying for every Thursday night.
Okay, are you thinking of keeping the same types of activities? Is it, I'm just asking this in general.
Yeah, I
Is
love
this
asking questions. Go ahead.
directed for activities for kids or families or
Well,
whoever?
Each of our Thursday night has a theme. So our musicians are based around the women of street music. We have one for leading up into Bliss Fest. We have a locals night. We have a Michigan night. So they're all themed. So all sets of musicians around town. Our placing partner is Bliss Fest. They're the experts in music. And so we let them work on getting the right groups of people for us in town. And the kids' activities will stay the same. It will be probably the balloon activities in front of Yummies and the face painting at the Top of State, which was quite popular.
I like Tommy Tropic of all the people you've had down.
Boy, yeah, I know. I almost needed Kyle there with a few more police officers for Tommy. I think if we do him again, we're going to put him on State Street.
He's from East Jordan, I think, or over that
Yeah.
way someplace.
Unbelievable crowd for Tommy. You're correct.
He's a good entertainer.
We've done this about 20 years, street music. It began a long time ago and has had a couple of different homes. The Chamber had it, Harbor Inc. had it. Now the Chamber Foundation has it, and we're a separate 501c3. We do our own fundraising. We work with the Chamber, and they are our administrative staff since we don't have any. But we do 3 events: street music, fireworks, and Car Fest.
Are there other locations that, or what other locations have you considered that would?
Not for a large group.
No other place?
There's not another spot for a big group that's safe.
How?
So more than 2 or 3 people wouldn't work. We've had 3 a couple times at Finishing Touch.
But the bigger groups of 5, 6, 7, and 8, there's no other place in town where we can safely put them, where we can give them electricity, and where we would keep the ground safe. So should we not have State Street, we would absolutely cut a group out for the entire season. We'd be one group short the whole summer. Just not safe.
Is Zorn Park a
No,
possible
it is not.
alternative?
First of all, there's no power.
Yes, there is.
Yeah,
On that one corner,
there's two locations for power. They have,
we use them for Ice Fest, correct?
yeah, they're, at the northeast corner with the farmer markets use.
Correct.
And then also by the depot, there's power, the bushes.
My fear for that is that we wouldn't get any traffic. I really don't want musicians to come to Harbor Springs and have no one in front of them. They're used to the circuit of Finishing Touch, Johann's, State Street, Waterfront. And some people do the whole thing all night. I don't know if we get them. Another concern, Kathy, we have is just music over music to put someone somewhere else. It's hard. And then like we've had music in front of Outfitter. It's a good spot. There's a little tuck back in. We can't do it with somebody in Finishing Touch and somebody at Johann's. Yes, you're right. I don't think any of us would want to put someone in Zorn. I just fear for the musician. No crowd.
What? I have no basis for this other than I was just thinking about it today, but what about, I'm just thinking potentially a street that might be easier to close, if that's bad, would be Spring
Spring.
Street, make it near the bottom of the boardwalk.
The difficulty with that is that the musicians at the waterfront are literally straight down that street. There would be music over music. We've tried it.
Okay.
I mean, they're positioned, you stand at the top of Spring and look down, you can see the musicians at the waterfront. They're too close.
Is the music at the waterfront usually amplified significantly or?
Well, like usually a big group because it can be.
Okay,
There's the space for it and people get up there and dance and they have their picnics. We could do a small group, but it would make no sense to close Spring Street for someone small.
oh, I understand, not for someone small.
Meant the other side at the bottom of the boardwalk, so it would be pretty far away from the
Are we
water.
talking about the same
You're talking about the top of Spring or the bottom of Spring?
top, but by the top, by the boardwalk,
I like,
the bottom of the boardwalk?
yeah, I like Burley.
Or even Third Street.
I don't even know if there's I mean, I don't
I
know,
don't know that there's power there.
but there is, I mean, potentially, there's no parking on that one piece of Spring at this point now anyway.
We have to be very careful because of the cars pulling into that lot in and out all night long.
But if we close, I mean, would that be a
I don't think
less
we
of
could-
an issue to close?
I don't think it could because we close out that parking lot as well, and it's very heavily used.
There's been a lot of talk at the DDA about bringing more action to Third Street. And so I think that we could consider, I know that Cora has a decent space by her. The Legion has done bands where they are. I don't know if it would be possible to shut down Third Street as an alternate for some of the weeks.
Wouldn't be up to us.
I'm just thinking about it, like, what, third between Spring and State?
Yeah.
I'd have to think about it. I don't know how it would, I don't know. Cause you have the Legion mixed into that.
You have somebody coming west on Third and they got to the place where it's blocked, they can't turn left because it's a
Like,
one way.
yeah, that, you can't turn left on Spring Street off this Third.
Yeah.
We have a couple letters in your packets from business owners on State who just saw the community action of it. They weren't speaking of half a dollars in their wallets, how it didn't happen. But just the fact that people were out there dancing and moving safely between it.
How did you do your counts? I mean, were you counting everybody? I'm just curious, because I really didn't know. Were you counting everybody walking down the street that happened to be there at that time?
We basically counted everybody who at least stopped. And
Okay,
we did them So I, like in 15-minute increments, added them together and then divided it over the course of the hour, so we didn't double count anybody. We all got very good at pushing that button.
Yeah. Um. I don't know what, I guess,
So what is your concern?
well,
Why would you not want it closed for those 6 weeks, 6 nights?
there's a lot of parking there.
So we're gonna give up, what, 14 spots for
We're gonna
2
give
hours?
14 spots, and I know it's only so many Thursdays, but there are only 13 Thursdays in the whole summer, which is also a big time for the businesses which are primarily restaurants, I assume, at that location or in that area. And I guess that's why I was asking who this is for and who you're entertaining and what the purpose of it is. Because as a person by myself, the only reason I might go downtown and get an ice cream cone and sit and listen to music. I'm probably not gonna haul a lawn chair with me. Of course, it depends on how far away I have to park. I hate to say that. So this is kind of where it's because there aren't very many stores open. I'm not gonna, and you said there were examples of people in Pearson's that had their kids. That may make perfect sense. I don't know. I'm not thinking that it would be something that I would be going out to dinner and then making a point of going out on Thursday so I could enjoy the music
I think
outside.
people did do that because we had music every Thursday, and particularly people with kids, because they could, you know, dance in the street or get the face painting done at the same time. It was just it's a festive part of the event, and we've all gone through the placemaking over the years, and this is a wonderful example of placemaking, something we as a city do to encourage people to come out and listen to music and take part in the activities. State Street is probably not the place they'll bring their lawn chairs, but you would look at Marina Park and there's a lot of lawn chairs.
You're in the minority if you don't have a lawn chair.
Exactly, well,
I can sit on the grass.
yeah.
Can you get back up?
Oh, but can you get back?
Yeah.
That was a cheap shot.
The-
Okay.
Yes. I think the other thing too, it being, you know, a two-way street, and, you know, connecting Maine and, you know, with the waterfront, I think that's, you know, I think that's why Kathy probably mentioned Spring Street or,
Yeah.
but, you know, I understand, you know, you don't want music on top of music.
We want an inviting community.
Right. it's,
People driving
um,
through town and seeing that it's inviting.
Thursday night, I think it's a great event. I go downtown every Thursday night.
I've seen you dancing.
Oh, yeah.
Public comment.
Yeah, so I think
Or we go
if
back
you
and
have,
forth more.
maybe to go to public comment and then a council can have discussion about it afterwards.
Any other comments?
So if there's any comments from the public.
I do. Matt Bagara, New York Restaurant. Originally closing State Street was my idea. And it was when we were in the throes of the COVID lockdown. And I thought it'd be a nice way for people to get out and sort of be around other people. And so we did it as an experiment. And the Chamber Foundation or whatever, the street music people have run it. Over the years, if you put Jelly Rolls or Tommy Two-Tone or we're talking about that, a big band on stage, you get a big crowd and you'll have a couple hundred people out there drinking, dancing, whatever. Typically, we get Guitar Joe sitting on the corner and there's 5 or 6 people. There's a lot of traffic, you know, people use it as a thoroughfare to get down to the waterfront. I think there's, you know, we lose 15 parking spots. We lose the second main thoroughfare in Harbor Springs. by closing it down on a Thursday. I think there's plenty of other options to move Guitar Joe. You could put them in the train park, train park. Or Third Street. I thought Third Street would be a good idea. Maybe Josh would let you use his parking lot for entertainment, but I think it's difficult for the people who come to Harbor Springs not to have State Street open. In the summertime, there are some safety concerns, you do have kids running around, especially at the north end where they do the face painting. That's a high traffic intersection. The tourists don't know how to react to the three-way stop, which is now all of a sudden a two-way stop. So anyways, I would prefer to see it open and used by the public on Thursday nights. Closed, vacant, lonely musicians.
Yeah.
We don't do that anymore, man. You know that.
I question your numbers. Your account numbers. I mean, I'm there every Thursday night. It's like, not 1,000 people standing.
No, there were never 1,000 at one time. That's the total count for the evening, Matthew.
Sure it is. Just like my.
Any other discussion on the council?
Well, we have one more.
Wait, we got another public.
Yes, sir.
Bob.
Bob Bowman, Pepper Street. If you guys are arguing about 2 hours a night for 6 nights in the summer, that's 2,400 hours long in 3 months. We're talking about 14 or 12 hours. Just saying. Good.
Thank you, Bob.
Print it off.
No. No.
Any other comments from anyone?
Anybody on Zoom?
I'll recuse myself from the vote, but I do want to make a couple of comments. For you to say that there are no other options, you did this for 15 years before this became an opportunity. And the opportunity was, as Matt said, due to COVID and restaurants being at 50% capacity and allowing social distancing. I have seen multiple times that there is a lonely musician in the street and you want people to come, but if you want people to come, the whole concept of the event is to walk around town and listen to multiple musicians. So maybe smaller spots where they can just walk by while they're eating their ice cream and they move on to the next person. I'm not opposed to doing it a couple of the nights, but I really do think that there needs to be some proactive approach to, are there actually other options, and not just saying there aren't any other opportunities. And if this is something we want to do, then bring more to State Street. The farmer's market is worth closing a street for. There's 1 million people there. There's vendors, there's things to do. It's not just one attraction. So that's how I see it, is if we want to close down such a main street in town, use the parking, which is valuable to everybody, I think that there either needs to be more stuff there or we need to look into other options.
And per your request earlier this spring, we did change the lineup, so there were no Guitar Joes and Bobs or Jacks there this summer. They were all multiple groups. And prior to COVID, we didn't have 3 big groups. We only had 2. We had one at the waterfront and one at Johann's. This gave us a chance for a bigger group. So subtle change. And yes, there are other spots with power, but not one where where I think we really feel safely putting a larger group. You have to go back to small groups, which leads to what you just said.
Yeah. But I think we need to constantly look at these and try to work together to come out with the best for everybody.
We can put more action on the street.
I'm wondering if we can seek some type of compromise. And maybe go with 2 or 3 dates of closing state and look for 2 or 3 alternative locations and see how it goes this summer. You know, if we it wouldn't, yeah, it would be closing State Street, you know, 2 or 3 times, maybe half of the 6 times. You know, and it would also give a chance for the most high profile bands or groups that you have for those 3 nights, or 2 nights or whatever it is. And maybe try out an alternative location.
Well, we could go alternative, but it wouldn't be a big group. Can't.
Well, I guess what I'm suggesting is maybe compromising and lower the number of Thursday evenings where State Street is closed down. You still go with, you know, free, I don't know, you know.
Just 4 in July up through Regatta Weekend. I wouldn't not, Regatta Weekend was a busy one. So you'd have July 3rd would be the first one and run it through Regatta.
Is it possible for you to book your acts and then bring it back to the council and say, these are the acts that we're gonna put on State Street?
You're gonna pay them if you say no?
I mean,
I can't, it's not fair to them, and that's a great suggestion, but if we book somebody, we're booking them.
but if they're a big band, we're probably not gonna say no to closing down a street. If you're like, hey, we have the Jelly Rolls, we wanna close the street this day. But I mean, I watched last year multiple times where you had a 1 or 2 person band and it didn't draw a crowd, and it is really frustrating for people coming into town. And a lot of people I've talked to, if they see the red barricades, they just turn and go home. They don't bother to stop and look for parking. So I think that
We would guarantee, again, now this is Lisbeth having to be a partner in this too, is gotta be a big group on the street. And that's the reason you put it there, is because it's got the space, the safety and the sound.
And at this point, I'm sorry,
I
we're doing
saw-
public comment. I'm sorry, just finish that part first.
The one thing else, I am neutral on this, but the one thing I would suggest is that we don't like piecemeal, like a week here and a week there. Because once we get people in the mode of not being able to park there, the same with the farmer's market. As we progress through the summer, we have to do less and less car moving. And if we pick, let's say, the first one and the third one, the whole month of July would not be an issue with me. But I just don't want to piecemeal because it creates an issue. Once you sort of, I don't know, like, I don't like herd the cattle in a certain way. If you're to herd them week in and week out, then to randomly pick a certain day. The whole month of July wouldn't be an issue. It's your guys' decision. My suggestion is not to piecemeal because that'll be very difficult. We have people that will park there and all of a sudden the next week we're not allowing them to park. The farmer's market, by the end of the farmer's market, everybody understands we can't park there. Same when we have a parade, the 4th of July, for the most part, people understand we can't park on Main Street. And I just like to be consistent.
As, and agree for our crowd as well. You don't want people coming down and all of a sudden it's different. Yeah, just the July stretch.
Hi, I'm Karen and I'm part of the foundation board. And I pay the musicians. Number one, I want to tell you, the musicians are thrilled to be at every location that we have. They can't thank us enough. The city of Harbor Springs for putting their hands out and saying, thank you for letting us be here. But Kathy's saying, we're only talking the month of July and 1 week in August. That's it. And I think, you know, people know that Thursday night is street music night. And they enjoy, and of course, we did a suggestion by the council, counting the people. And we also brought somebody at the top of State Street, face painter, which attracted a zillion people. I mean, the kids just were like so thrilled to show their faces and stuff like that. when you see happy faces like that and families coming down together and enjoying, it makes me happy and the musicians happy. I mean, you know, toward the end of the summer, we have kids going back to school, football, sports, whatever. So those last couple of weeks were like not really, really big. But like Kathy said, we're willing to do the July and 1 week in August, and that's it.
2/3 of our run.
And plus, we have to start working with the groups now. This is where
We're
we
already
start
getting-
contracts. We start in January.
Any other discussion from the audience?
Say,
Right,
originally, the planning commission and the chief of police were against the idea of closing. For what that's. And, a suggestion, to maybe attract more people, get a food vendor, food truck.
You're okay with that?
I don't care.
Since when?
I don't know. In front of my restaurant.
Great.
Feel free.
There used to be food vendors
I know.
as part of it. I mean, he was one of them. He had a table out in the park. There is a food truck on
The DDA's had.
Main Street.
That.
I was busy on Thursday night, I do it myself.
Kathy, do you have the dates? I just want to make sure I'm clear on how many dates we're talking about for this coming summer.
Thursdays in July.
So there's 5 Thursdays in July.
First one,
What are those dates?
The first, the 10th, the 17th, the 24th, and the 31st.
So. Because I appreciate that you said you were doing one less week in August, and I appreciate that you mentioned that before. There was also. So it's just kind of a calendar fluke. If we're talking 5 in July and 1 in August. Maybe we would really only be talking 4 or 5 total other summers, but this summer we're talking 6.
Well, this last year we had July 4th was on a Thursday, so that was extraordinarily busy. We didn't close the street.
Right, oh, right, okay,
Get a track.
okay.
any other discussion from the board on her request? Make a motion, we approve the request for the closing of State Street, or Street and Street,
For how many, what
for
weeks?
6 days, dates, she'd recommend. July and the Regatta weekend,
The August,
first
Week
one.
before the car festival.
the August 7th weekend.
Yeah.
Or is that, I mean, the August 7th
It
day.
is, Correct. We can come back again, but honestly, guys, it's taking a lot of everybody's time.
It's, again, this is a really difficult decision, you know.
Still waiting for somebody at that table to join our board, look at scheduling and positions, see what we go through.
There's a motion on the table,
So
so.
there's a motion and we're waiting for the second. When Councilman Milky has recused herself. So, I suppose the second needs to come from you or myself.
Would be the.
Good now, guys.
And this, Tom could morph into somebody.
I'll second. At least we can discuss more.
Motion is made and seconded to support this young lady's motion here.
Um,
gotta do a roll call.
no,
Have any discussion first?
yes,
Go ahead, Kathy.
That. What? Are there any other dates for? Are these are the 6 street music dates?
We have
correct?
9.
We have 9. Okay, so you have some in June.
We have the first one in June. but not the state street closed, that's Waterbury.
Right.
And then we have 5 in July this year, and then 3 in August. So we have 9.
And what if we just went with the July dates? And that's 5, that State Street's closed. And that's something that we know that Street Music is gonna close State in July.
That would be easy for us on marketing purposes, just making sure it clear, people clearly knew that's
Because we do keep it we do keep it open in the other weeks in August and 1 week in June.
Well, one of those weeks in August is the car fest, so there's,
Right.
and we also do that event, and we would not close State.
Yeah.
Makes no sense, and that last one, as you saw by the count, it was lighter, so I would prefer that we put people elsewhere. And I
Right.
actually discussed with the board that we pull that last one altogether. I felt bad about making musicians come for a small crowd, and where that 515 number was just State, there were 3 other locations. But on the other side, we are paying musicians to perform, and that's a gift to them that we can't ignore.
Yeah, for sure.
Right.
Um,
And I guess my hesitation is simply that I feel, I like to think of these kinds of events like street music as things that everyone in town, and it's good for for businesses and for residents and visitors. And so I guess my concern is that if there are businesses that don't feel like it's good for them, then I feel like, is there a way we can work this out?
From the DDA perspective, that's been looked at a lot of times, and this is an issue actually I've given up on because of staffing. Most of the people who can't stay open on Thursday night, because they don't have the staff to be open all day and then open 3 o'clock at night.
Candy, there were more people, more businesses that did stay open this year. Finishing Touch was one of them, stayed open at night. McClutchy's stayed open. Of course, sweatshirt shops stayed open. We had more down that road, of course. Businesses, the restaurants were open, and especially Pearson's, they keep their thing up and people love the music. But I mean, this is what I saw. I've been paying musicians for the past 3 years, 4 years, and it's been wonderful to see smile. I mean, people go from one venue to the next, to the next, to the next. They don't stay at one, then they'll go back, and then they'll go back. I mean, but they make an evening out of it. And to me, that's so much fun to see in our downtown. We need to see this, and I don't know if they buy anything that night, but they might go back the next day. I mean,
I don't want to.
they do get business because they.
I don't want to.
I know, I appreciate it, Aaron, but
The discussion should be between council members, so I don't want to.
But I thank you.
We need to withdraw the motion in the second or vote on it and let the chips fall.
Let's vote on it.
Got a motion and a second by.
How many nights?
This was for all nights. This was the motion to.
Thanks, yes, for.
6 of the dime.
Or you can share motion.
I would like to see this July, but that's, and see how that.
Modifying that motion to just by July. We'd be happy with that.
I happen to think it's a great event. I support it, that's all. So I'll change my motion to be the 5 nights in July 25.
Okay, I'll second that.
Second by Kathy. Michael Behrman.
Yeah.
Kathy Macho.
Yes.
Tom Graham.
Yes.
Motion carried.
See you on the street.
Thank you, thanks.
All right,
DDA annual report.
yes, so Becky Goodman, DA Director, will do the information meeting and annual report for the Downtown Development Authority. Let me share the presentation.
Well, thank you for having me. It's first time I've been in front of you and I'm happy to be here and give this informational meeting to you. I will say that, this first slide, you can see, this is the template that's provided to us by the Michigan Downtown Association. It covers, so that the headings as we go through this, it covers everything that a DDA is expected to do. And that's why it's set up this way. I personalized a little bit, some pictures from Harbor Springs, but I did realize that one thing I haven't really been successful at this year is building the photo library. So none of these pictures are stellar, so we're gonna be taking a lot more pictures.
Try the mic, just
Try the mic?
Just try it.
I'm real jumpy, so if it scares me, you can.
You don't have, just don't have to speak into it. You can stay where you're at.
Okay. Okay, the reason we're doing this meeting is the State Enabling Act of 2018. It says that DDA do need to have 2 public information meetings a year. And they do say in their Enabling Act that they should include the kinds of things that you're gonna see in this informational meeting tonight. This is not for the purpose of voting on policy or talking about budget. This is to tell the community what the DDA is doing to initiate transparency. So the goals, if you are not aware of them, and the direction of the DDAs are of what we do are defined by the TIF development plan that was first created in 2015, amended again in 2023, and this full document is available on our website. Long document, don't put in time, get immersed. It's interesting, at least to me. This year, our board of directors, you can see how they're listed on the up there for you. Gail Brown was our chair, or Wade the vice chair. Mayor Matt Pagero was on by charter was on the board. So Escherbrenner, Joe Eubank was here tonight. Chuck, I think I heard Chuck's voice in the back, and then I heard Nikki's voice behind me as well. Margaret Tweeden, our student representative was Jacqueline Swadling. She was a nice young woman to get to know. Rocky Baidu was on the board most of the year, but he did have to resign in the fall. He has way too many commitments, and he was replaced again tonight. I will say, and I'll get a little anecdotal here, I've worked with DDA boards for a number of years now, probably close to 30. This board is committed, they're active, they're dedicated, and they do the work. And it's been a real joy to get to know them better. So the purpose of the DDA, this is a formal statement, is to analyze the impact of economic changes and growth in the downtown district of the city of Harbor Springs. It is also to develop plans in coordination with the city council and the planning commission that will promote orderly economic growth and development in the downtown district. So what did we do in 24? The first thing I think that they did was they hired a director. The position had been open for a while, and I'm the director and I am part-time. And I will elaborate on that a little bit. If this wasn't such an involved and active board, they would not be able to have a part-time person. Great support from the board members. It's crucial. Soon after I was here, we had a DDA basic training meeting. I thought that was a very good endeavor for the fact there's a new director and we had some board members, and we learned exactly what is legally expected of the DDA. We completed phase 1 of the downtown lighting plan on 3rd Street. That's 10 lamps, lamp posts. And we contracted for phase 1 of the Merchants Walkway project and would have completed that phase had the contractor not just been overwhelmed with work this summer. It has been replanned to be finished by May 30th of next spring. We also developed and approved the DDA board orientation packet, which is crucial for effective boards so that they know, or new board members and current board members know everything that is expected of them. And I'm a big believer in the budget. I know that if it's in the budget, you can do it, and if it's not, you can't. And so as I needed a work plan, we developed a budget for 25 that includes all the projects we want to do in 25. We created promotions for annual downtown day and small business Saturday, just one way of getting people to think about shopping in their own downtowns and shopping locally. We coordinated repairs to the wayfinding system, including the directory updates. That system has been in place for a number of years and needed some paint and sprucing up in many places. You might not see it all done. It's being done. They're pulling some signs and doing them over the winter, but I think they're nearly completed with that project. We did hold the annual ice festival. We updated the website and we posted on social media platforms. We created a visitors map that I got some nice comments on over the summer. And we were asked by the planning commission to consult with them on revisions to the sign ordinance and also to the display of goods in the public right of way, those two policies. The board members themselves, with the help of the National Honor Society, planted flowers in the tree walls, and they also got out and trimmed the street trees with Gail and Dana Mulder's help. We also committed to sidewalk snow removal, and we are working with as you know, a new employee that works at Parks and Rec. And that person is running the snow blower down the middle of the sidewalk and clearing it on the days that we have a snow event. This is a good help to the merchants who get there. If we've got a foot of snow on the sidewalk, that first path is cleared for them. They're gonna have to tidy up the rest of the day, and they're gonna have to salt, but at least they don't have to shovel that first path down. So I have two very active and committed committees, promotion committee and the enhancement committees. You can see their missions there. Promotion committee is to market the downtown, to hold events. Any kind of a marketing activity would go through them. And the mission of the enhancement committee is to sustain the user experience. They're more of what you look around and what you see. If they're working on a project for next year, this beautification, anything that enhances the look of the downtown and the user experience. Next year, the enhancement committee will be working on what I'm calling a beautification project. They would like to see some beautification projects that go all through downtown, include 3rd Street, include Bay Street, and are not just focused on Main Street. And they have noticed that we have a lot of street furnishings that do not match, that do not even really coordinate. So they're looking at a purchase of matching benches, bike racks, trash cans, replacing the flowers in the tree wells, painting the lampposts. They also have been very interested in tree grates for the trees, but that was a lot to bite off for this year. And so they're working when they get all of this beautification done for the spring, then they'll start working on the tree grate program for the next year. They're looking at quick and easy projects, things that don't cost a lot to do. One of them they have in mind is shielding the utility boxes some way so that the wires aren't hanging out and they're just not this ugly eyesore. They might have a way to turn them into something beautiful. Also at the end of this year, they're going to be working on developing a facade grant program and a public art program. These are things that have been mentioned to them from the strategic economic development plan that they're working on. They've been mentioned as something that this would be good for the DDA to do. So these are complicated issues. I've done both of them before. They don't happen overnight, but they may not be ready for 26, but they will be underway at that time. The promotions committee will be expanding their social media platforms with the assistance of a consultant who will be posting for them and coordinating all of their social media platforms. They would like to create a trifold shopping map, something they haven't had before. Maybe this would have advertising ad sales for the businesses. We're working on that concept at committee level right now. They will be partnering with the Chamber of Commerce on Skeletons Arise. I think that's a great event. They love that it brings so many people to downtown, and they have put money in their budget to create a more massive downtown thematic skeleton display and make that event even bigger, bringing people here all through the fall season. And I would just interject here that the summer season seems to be quite successful in the downtown. What the DDA is looking at is extending the fall season and the spring season. Shoulder seasons are where there's opportunity. There's also a lot of talk about historic preservation. They are looking at a plan to work with a museum who will do the writing of the histories, and then we could put them on a plaque and put them on the wall of the business. And this will be something that the DDA will pay half of, and the business will pay the other half. This is kind of effective in getting people to go through town. There are always people who maybe don't want to go to the shop, but they want to stay there and they want to read the plaque. You appeal to a lot of different personalities this way. Plus, if it's on your building and somebody stops to read the plaque, oh, look at what's in the window. There might be something that appeals to them. So it's all about economic development, but I'm a preservationist myself. So I like to see that it's about preservation as well. I'm excited about that one. Oh, I think I lost one. Is that public?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah,
Sure.
and the other thing that I was not surprised about, I guess, but I had strong support from the DDA board. They want to have people park at the high school and have a shuttle running during the summer that will bring them back and forth and back and forth and back and forth. I've worked on programs like this before. Let's see how it works. The trial program, if we're still working on the concept of that, perhaps we can get a donation of maybe a jump car or some kind of a shuttle. That would just run that route, would require an employee, it would require a little bit of money the first year, but then you see what it's gonna do. You have a trial of whether or not to base this on. Apparently, this is something that's been talked about here for quite a while, and the board was quite enthusiastic and pushed to have this included. I'm happy to work on it. So they like to include what I have done this year as far as meetings with other organizations and people. I did attend the NLEA strategic planning session. I'm on the board of the Michigan Downtown Association, so I attend their board member meetings, and I serve there as the past chair. I also attend weekly MDA conference committee planning meetings because I'm the conference committee chair for the MDA. I met monthly with our promotions and enhancement committees, and I did meet with a variety of business owners, stakeholders. This is ongoing. There's always work to be done there. Then to highlight one of the projects we did in 24, I put in the downtown lighting phase 1. The twinkle style lights that you've become familiar with that were on 3rd Street were removed. And this was according to the DDA plan, and then replaced with 10 weekly style pedestrian oriented lamp posts. You can see how pretty the twinkle lights were in front of Margaret Tweeden's store there, but they did not provide the kind of light that was needed for safety and to get the pathways lit. This is phase 1 of this program. All of 3rd Street is being looked at right now as where other lamp posts could go. And if there's any, we're also looking at if there's any need for new lamp posts on Bay Street. We also had, we're on to the events. So the DDA here is so lucky that they have the Chamber of Commerce that hosts so many events. If this is another instance, if they didn't have the chamber doing that, they would absolutely need a full-time director. The DDA does give financial support to the chamber for sidewalk sales, and they also gave financial support to the museum for the Blessing of the Fleet event. So in 2024, the DDA will hold its 7th annual they did hold its 7th annual Ice Fest. Includes sponsored ice sculptures and ice carving donations. This is their signature event that they do on their own. We do have an Ice Fest subcommittee that Nikki Law chairs. And they will be doing their 8th annual Ice Fest that will be held February 7th and 8th, 2025. So historic preservation is a big part of downtown development. And sometimes I could go on and on about this because this is exactly, preservation is the reason that I got into downtown development. But we are starting slowly and including preservation in our projects. As you mentioned, historic charm in our committee made mission statements. The SOG grant program will definitely focus on preservation, and there is this commitment for next year to develop our historic flag program. And I can promise you more things will happen as we go forward. The ribbon cuttings, we're again grateful to the Chamber of Commerce because they do manage those. We had a new business open within the district this year, Grayson Folliers. I spoke with them when they started. They told me they were a pop-up, but now they tell me that the business is good and they plan to stay the whole year. It's always good to hear that business is good in your downtown. So we had some advantages for educational training. In coming years, I would like to manage maybe a seminar for retail seminar for business owners to learn for how to adapt new things to their buildings or their businesses. But this year we had the DDA training that I had mentioned earlier. The Michigan Downtown Association held their June workshop at the Holy Redeemer Church, and in Harbor Springs. It was a great facility for us. And brought downtown directors from, I think there were 80 of them there from all over the state. It was an honor for me to have them come here. I appreciated that. And I got lots of good feedback from these people about, oh my God, this is a beautiful downtown. You are so lucky to work here. And it was gratifying to me. I used to hear, oh, you're so lucky you work in Petoskey, but now I get it for Harbor Springs. So I'm a fortunate person. 2 of our board members attended that day-long workshop, and they gave me great feedback that they had learned a lot as well. And of course, I attend their workshops, and we just had the annual conference, and that was in Ann Arbor. So the grants that and recognitions that we received this year, no grants were pursued, so none were won. We might be able to change that in the future. I was very proud to know that board member Vice Chair Cora Wade Smith was awarded Volunteer of the Year by the Chamber of Commerce, and also Gail Brown and Sarah Eschelbrenner were nominated. Nobody gets 3 Volunteer of the Year candidates on their board. I was very pleased to hear about that. So the communications included a downtown newsletter that we developed, and quarterly issues were sent out to downtown. I also got the email list going, the e-blast called list going, sent out several messages to the downtown merchants, and it's divided up into retail, restaurants, food vendors, service businesses, and so that I could focus if I want to send just to one segment. And then I'm talking to them all the time about sidewalk snow removal and new events that are coming up and other happenings in downtown. So I'm happy to answer any questions. The only thing I would caution you is that the board is not here. We do not have a quorum. This is not the time to talk about policy necessarily, or policy questions, I guess would be, yeah. But anything else, I'm open, I'd love to. DDA work is my life, I'm supposed to talk about it. I have my contact information there. Anytime you want to get a hold of me, take a picture of it so you have it. It's on the website.
I just had one question there. We were talking about facade grants. Can you talk a little more about that?
Well, when you get a lot of old buildings in town, sometimes you get them preserved by benign neglect, and sometimes they really do need to be preserved. And what's good for maybe one building is good for the whole downtown. It raises everyone's vote. So if there is money available, then you can set a group of criteria. You can say, you can qualify for a facade grant if you do this, 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 and this. We have design guidelines that you put together first. A great model for that is the State Historic Preservation, well, even the National Historic Preservation Office have sample documents for that. And they will say things like how a storefront window should how a good storefront should be built. Should have the windows at each side, the painter should go in the middle, some space below, the signage should go above. And then you try to conform to that. You try to make your building look like it was originally built. And that adds to the value of the entire streetscape. So that is how one of those programs are usually. And they're always that I know of. I don't know of any that are not matching. So usually it's a 50-50. The property owner is willing to put, or the merchant is willing to put up 50%, then or you put up the other 50%. So you would say in your budget, we're going to put $15,000 in this year, and then you would construct how you were going to get that away.
Thanks.
How are you funding your grants?
Well, that could come out of the tip. That's it. We did that. We could also fundraise for it. There are also programs through the states that we could use. We're at the beginning of that.
I have a few questions.
That will come to you in our budget.
First of all, I want to say that the third street light is really awesome.
Oh, good.
For the shuttle service, are you looking to target employees for the shuttle or
Sure.
shoppers for the shuttle?
In my mind, it's anybody, but I would hope that the employees would take advantage of it. My experience is that employees want to park really close because they want to get in their car and get out there, or it's got all these reasons that they need to get out, back to the babysitter. But for long-term parking, that's where the employees should be. And I also feel like that stairway is a challenge for older people, and maybe coming down is easy, but going back up, you're loaded with a lot of bags. So if anybody who's willing to park up there and ride some kind of a golf cart down the hill.
I walk down it every day, so. And then, do you have any joint meetings? I know our participation plan for the city says for boards to hold joint meetings. Do you have any of those planned this year?
I don't for this year, but I'm not close to that, and would be happy if needed at any point in time to. In the past, I've held joint meetings with planning commissions and with city councils, and we're working on projects like that. It's best to have everyone at the table. Parks? No. Yeah.
Parks
And-
makes sense.
Yeah.
I think that makes sense.
And Rachel's like just a smart, lovely young woman that I would definitely love to work with more. She's been very helpful to me getting started.
Thank you. Have you also, excuse me, considered a shuttle for parking that's here? I mean, running a shuttle from here. Seems to me we talked about that at different times, about encouraging people to park.
I think,
I'm not sure I'm getting it.
I think boats, like with people with trailers are encouraged to park over here, right? And then they have to get back to the marina.
There's Ottawa Stadium. Is a consideration too, possibly.
That's what was explained to me was the high school, but we'll be looking at that in our January meeting, and getting that undergone. Eddie, I'm willing to do whatever is possible. I want to stress though, this will be a trial, to see how it goes. And I've said that at the DDA, I've said that at the committee, so. If it goes great, wonderful, wouldn't that be? That's why I'm not saying we're gonna buy a trolley or anything like that. We're gonna look for a donation of something we can rent, maybe. But, thank you. Anything else? I think Victor already had something in my head that I left out that we did this year that I might have gone over on the slide. We also settled with the county, so that now we do have, did I say that aloud? I don't think I said it, I think I skipped it, yeah. So let's not forget about that one too, because that was important. Right, thank you, Victor, for that, because, and to Jim, so. I put that in. I remember saying it. Okay?
Thank you so much.
For having me.
There was a construction on State Street.
Yes, okay, yes, so the bids came back for the State Street construction project. We had, if you remember, we had budgeted or anticipated the cost to be around $650,000, and that was distributed between 3 different funds. The streets fund for the repair of the street, water and sewer fund for the replacement of the water and sewer pipes, and then electric fund, a little bit portion from electric fund for the electric conduit that would be placed down. So we received 6 bids, and per the city's purchase policy, we are city staff, city clerk, DPW director Lucas, and myself, we score the project based on several criteria. You see the score there. In this case, the score aligned with the lowest bidder, which came in at about $200,000 less than what we had projected to be. So actually, all the bidders came back less than we projected, but the highest bidder did come pretty close to what we projected at $620,000. So we had a wide range of bidders of prices. We also put out an alternate, and that was because the plan commission has suggested in case bids came back higher, using asphalt instead of concrete would lower the cost, and it did. In this case, we prefer concrete, and since our bids came back so low, we'd recommend sticking with concrete. And so going with the main bid. So Montai Construction came at the highest score and the lowest bid at 109, and then you see the other bidders, and we put this out, obviously out to bid much well before the construction date would be, which in the fall, and we got a very competitive bidding process. There are 6 different bidders. A couple haven't bid in a while for the city. We do have some regular bidders that bid, but yeah, a couple of companies that haven't bid in a while, so that competitive bidding helped us get a lower price. So my recommendation is council discuss the project and decide on which bidder you want to go with.
Discussion?
I have a really minor question that has to do with this. Chief had brought up all of the signs that were kind of blocking the view, and there was a Wayfair sign there, and it's gone probably to get worked on, but do we have to put it back in that location? Or can we leave it, can we find another location to put it, to not block the view? I'm talking to you and Becky. Like,
I don't care.
right, you had just mentioned that it was something that blocked the view, and since I noticed it was gone, I didn't know if that was something we could look into, seeing if there was another location that might.
I'm not familiar with exactly where it
Okay.
is, but I'm happy to look at it and take it.
I do think that that's a good option if we
Yeah.
can find, because that's, now that the construction signs are gone, it's helpful, but that's definitely a large sign.
Yeah, I just noticed it was not there, and I was like, oh, wow. But if they're working on it, that's fine.
It's a good point. Too.
I'll
So-
look at it. I'll
Okay.
look into it.
I understand that these are all contractors that DPW is familiar with and we've worked with before. Is that correct?
I believe all of them. I just don't know about Wilkinson. Lucas, can you speak to that? I know they've all done work in the city. I don't know about Wilkinson.
Yeah, they've all done work for the city except Wilkinson. But Wilkinson did just complete a water project for West Traverse Township, which I oversee their water system, and that was done last year on Cemetery Road, and they did good work up there. So very comfortable with all 6 of the contractors.
You're looking for a motion approved?
Yeah, we would be looking for a motion to go with our recommendation with the highest score in this case, which is Montague Construction. Yeah.
So we're a couple $100,000 under expected bid, just to clarify. That proportionally, those funds kind of go back into then the 3 funds from which they came in some type of proportion. In that the budget, I'm assuming, this is for the 2025 budget, I'm assuming that it is not reflected to show this yet because we haven't approved this, correct?
Correct.
So there will be this will be reflected in the budget amendment.
Yes.
Correct me if I'm wrong.
So no, you're basically right. What will happen is we'll look at the bids and the actual breakdown of where the money is being distributed to. For example, if you look at the different bids, you'll see some have higher amounts for concrete versus some have higher amounts for the piping. So we'll look at the final cost and then we won't take the money down proportionally, but based on the actual work done. So if you know, we budgeted $150,000 from streets, but it only cost $120,000 and we'll.
For those line
Yeah,
items.
yes,
then.
exactly.
Okay.
So any savings would necessarily are gonna go through the same 3 funds that
Yes.
what the expenditure would have gone through, which is water and sewer, streets and electric.
Yes.
Correct. Okay, thanks.
Is there a street in town that is the same width that we're changing that to, that so people would have an idea to compare?
Lucas, I don't know if you heard that, but are there other streets in town that are gonna be about the same width, which is 26 feet, that are similar, that people can have an idea of how wide it's still going to be?
Yeah, it's gonna be roughly the same width as Lake Street, by the schools where there's curb on both sides.
Thank you, Lucas.
Will there be less parking on Bluff Drive and State Street, I assume, if we're making it narrower?
No, there's no, people don't. know
That's
there's
correct. There will be no parking on
Yeah.
State Street between Summit and State.
119.
Oh,
And M119.
Would we still allow parking north of Summit on both sides?
Yeah.
My understanding, yes.
This,
North Lake where Harbor Car Care, that
Yeah.
stretch,
Yeah.
apartments. But Lucas will want better, but this can be too narrow for parking, in my opinion, would be way too.
Yeah.
I'm assuming there's some kind of a law or regulation that says
We can put a traffic control order that would prohibit it. I just have to draft it.
that's not what I meant. We're moving it to X feet wide. Does that mean that, can you allow parking? Or is there a state law that says you can only allow parking if the street is X feet wide?
There, to my knowledge, there's,
I mean,
it basically comes on the safety issue of the fire trucks and the emergency vehicles.
okay,
That might, there's a state law that, I don't know the numbers, but there is a state law reference to that. But we have the ability to do a traffic control order. I mean, I just thrown out there, if council approved that I could do a traffic control order to allow or not allow parking anywhere.
okay.
no, yeah, what I
As long
think,
as it's
yeah,
reasonable.
Kyle, what I think Kathy's asking is, do we have to put a no parking sign up? No parking.
We'll have to post it.
No, but there's no state law that mandates that we have to write no, make it no parking.
There's,
Yeah,
to my knowledge.
yeah, yeah. I
It
think
just
that's
won't
what
be
Kathy-
taken
Or
off.
safety.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Lucas, do you have any thoughts on that, Lucas?
The way the road's classified as a major street, we couldn't allow parking on both sides, but technically we could on one side or the other. The width would still be wide enough to allow traffic to go around one car
Okay,
that was parked.
Thank you, Lucas.
So that determination then it has yet to be made, or is it made that parking will not be allowed on both sides of the streets or just one side?
You want my opinion is, if
I
this.
don't mean to put anyone on the spot, but
Well, I'll go on the spot. If it's the width of Lake Street, there's no way I'm gonna allow parking in that block.
Right.
If you think about cars driving, if you think.
thank you,
Yeah, you think of.
thank you.
Yeah, it's not gonna.
Thank you for being put on the spot.
No,
Um,
Is that all right?
Yeah,
Council member, yeah. I just look at parking a car in front of the gate and have people drive around it. It would be a nice.
Like
I have
mine.
one comment on that,
On
the
bus.
parking there.
Yeah, Lucas?
If there was parking on one side, it would be very similar to on Pine Street, how parking is allowed on one side and not the other. Between Arbor and Oak, and then from Oak to Arbor.
You look at how that works during school days. Yeah.
Thank you.
Well, I think we can come back.
Yeah, we can come back to that, but
That's
thank
not
you
part
for
of the
that
plan,
visual.
Have any?
Yes, Mr. Mayor, if you want to open it up to any public comment.
Anybody in the audience have comment on the State Street project? Yes, ma'am.
Pam Traczynski, 465 State Street. Is there a?
You don't have to talk.
Yeah, it's not so-
You just press it on.
Pam Traczynski, 465 State Street. Is there a start and finish date that's part of the decision-making process?
Lucas, did you hear that? A start, and do we have a start date yet? I don't see it yet.
I have the schedule, I believe it is, it will definitely be finished before the end of October. The start date should be just after Labor Day.
And we're confident that these are all companies that are true to their word?
Yes, and there's stipulation in the contract that they lose money if they go over the date of completion.
Thanks, Lucas. Thanks.
A motion for everybody on the board? Is there anyone?
There's no one on Zoom.
Pardon?
No, I just said there's no one on Zoom. Okay.
I make a motion to award the State Street reconstruction project to Monte Construction for the price of $451,419.65.
I'll second.
Kathy Macho,
Yes.
Tom Graham,
Yes.
Jamie Melky,
Yes.
Michael Bearman,
Yes.
motion carried.
Thank you. But, board part, repaving.
All right, so while we were able to save a good amount of money on State Street, the Ford Park bids came higher than anticipated, so we were looking at around $13,000 to $15,000 for anticipated costs for the widening of Ford Park. The low bid came at just under $23,000. I did talk to Lucas. We could save probably about $800 for striping. We could do those, save some money. We use our own machine, save a few $100s. But yeah, Spearling Trucking did come in at $23,000, and if you look at the bids, they all were pretty different estimates or line items for what things would cost. So it's still relatively to the cost of the project. While it's a 50% increase than we anticipated, it's still a relatively minor amount of money for the benefit that we could see there. So
Just take care of that bump on the south side too. Big hump in the road on the south side of that.
Lucas, would this take care of
This-
that bump? Yeah.
This does not address the bump.
Why not?
The Harbor Commission didn't look at that, but they were looking at specifically widening of the drive.
So they're gonna extend the pump then north if they're widening it to the north? Is that
Yes,
the
there,
plan?
I got the plans right here. You see right there, where these striped lines here is where there would be expanding the drive.
Yeah, the bump is in that area in the middle.
Lucas, do you know where the bump is relative to where they're expanding based on this map?
Yeah, it's roughly where the black dot that demarks the additional pavement, 220 square yards. It runs across the road there. It's from the storm sewer line that runs under the road. So the bump would not be in the new pavement, but it was not included to eliminate that bump. For what the Harbor Commission had asked us to look at.
The lower that storm sewer to get rid of it, is that what the problem is?
Did you hear that, Lucas?
We'd have to raise the road, not lower the storm sewer. Which it would just be a few inches that would probably need to be the elevation change for the road there.
It's a great improvement.
Lucas, well, I don't know if we want to take public comment on this first, but I had a question.
Yep.
Okay, so they're gonna saw cut a little strip of the pavement, then, you know, prepare a plot, however they do it, put the new pavement down. Will there be a noticeable difference where the two pavements meet? And, you know, are we pretty certain there won't be, after a few years, heaving or crumbling or anything at that point?
They will be doing a saw cut along where a pavement will be adjoining. Anytime you have a longitudinal seam in asphalt like that, you do run the risk of getting a little water in there, which can cause it to fail prematurely. But I don't foresee it being a huge problem there just because this parking lot should last for quite a number of years. And I believe this is kind of a temporary fix until that parking lot is redesigned or redone within the next decade or so.
Other comments? I'll make a motion, we approve the bid selection, the lowest bidder.
I'll second.
Tom Graham,
Yes.
Jamie Melky.
Yes.
Michael Behrman,
Yes.
Kathy Macho.
Yes.
Motion carried.
All right, moving along. Only a couple more items, guys. Thanks for hanging in there with us. So 3G is review of the fees and utility rates. So what Clerk Whitaker and I said we would come back end of the year to with any suggestions for any fee adjustments or utility rate adjustments. And we look at our fee schedule and there's no suggestions at this time from us to adjust that fee schedule. We did it last in planning. The planning and zoning was done last in 2023. Of course, the Harbor Master Marina rates were adjusted in November. We do want to look at continuing a cost of living, CPI adjustment for the electric rates. For the past 3 years, we've been increasing them on average throughout all the different rate classes by 3.3%. And this was based on a rate study that was done in 2021. Before that, we hadn't raised rates since 2007. And that rate study looked at several things such as projects that we had in the pipeline, the cost of purchasing electricity, and the different rate classes. Are they really paying their fair share for what they're getting? So that like I said, recommended 3.3%. Now, not all classes paid 3.3%. The commercial paid, their increases were less. There were 2% annual increases for commercial, and then residential varied between whether they were in town or out of town between 3 and 5%. So there was a different increase proposed by the utility rate at that time, the utility study at that time. Because we have the CPI shows from November 23 to November 2024, a 3.1% increase in electricity costs. Our purchase of electricity has gone up $500,000 from 21 to 22 and 23, then projecting about a 200,000 or slightly more increase for cost of electricity for 2025 compared to 2021. So, and looking at our projects, putting all those together, we think at least for one more year, it makes sense to have a flat 3% inflationary kind of increase across the board for electric rates. We were thinking about doing something similar for the water rates, but we don't have a study to base the water rates on. At least with the electric rate, they honed it on 3.3% as a number for annual increase. But we don't have a study for the water rates and sewer rates that can tell us if that's actually, a valid number. We haven't increased water rates since 2007. And I don't think it would be prudent of us to just recommend a random rate increase. While we think we probably would need rate increases, and there probably need to be, want to look at that structure, that fee structure, that rate structure as well. I think right now, just focusing on the electric, raising electric rates by 3.3% would be prudent, and then looking to do a utility rate study for the water and sewer system. To do that for 2025, so then we can come back at the end of 2025 and recommend either a new rate structure or rate increases or adjustments based on that study.
How profitable was the electric department in 24?
Gotta go to the budget for that one. Nick, you can probably get to that quicker.
About 600 grand in the hole.
Okay.
We have several projects going on with the electric department, so you're right.
That's because of capital outlay.
Some of it's capital outlay, but I would say backing out some of that capital outlay, which is always gonna have to continue anyways.
Right.
We're still probably in the hole. I mean, we've noticed some pretty substantial increases in cost of power.
How much money would you make on the 3% for next year?
150,000, I think is about the, which we would make.
Right.
It's also to remember that we're suggesting a rate increase of 3%. The behind the meter fee or the ready to serve charge is another charge that we could look at. We have charged $10, for example, for in-town residents and $15 a month for out-of-town residents. And that ready to serve charge is part of the cost to maintain the system as well. So, but a 3% increase was only about 30 cents. So we didn't want to look at that. We want to keep it looking at the rates because the cost of electricity is what's going up as well. Capital projects, we are going to go out for the bond for the substation, but if you put the substation aside, we would still be behind when it comes to revenue. And another reason for that is, and I mentioned this before, is we still transfer in about $200 and something thousand from the electric fund every year into the general fund as a return on investment from the original electric system that we put in place. So while that's been very nice for the general fund because you don't have to raise taxes to cover that $250,000 that's transferred in from the general fund, from the electric fund and general fund, over the course of decades, that's several $1 million that we have taken from the electric fund to return to the investment in the general fund. So that's a huge amount of money that could have gone through a lot of projects. I'm not saying we should stop that, but I think it's something we need to look at, whether or not the general fund can sustain itself without the electric fund, and whether or not the electric fund would be better off keeping that money within the system. As far as these rates for the electric, I put it in here. We are, for the rates, about 30% lower than our neighbor in Great Lakes Energy Cooperative, and about 15% lower than the city of Petoskey. So we're still very competitive, even if we do the 3% increase. And also, when it comes to the ready to serve charge, we're probably about 200% lower than Great Lakes Energy, and Petoskey is a little different structure, but we're probably about around the same for the city of Petoskey. So we aren't, our residents, our customers have it really good, and we're not trying to get more money out of them just to get more money, but we really need to cover our expenses in the electric fund and keep up with the costs. Since it would have been different had we kept up with regular increases from 2007 to 2022, but we hadn't. And so now we have to kind of make up for that as well.
Compounded itself.
Yeah. So yeah, we're really asking for two things. One is to consider one, 2020, a rate adjustment of 3% increase across all electric rates for 2025, and a separate motion to look into getting a rate study for our water and sewer system.
Do we also need to have a motion to on the other fees, or have those already been voted on?
Those are already voted on, unless you wanted to change any of those fees.
That's what I was thinking. Okay.
So you're just going out there to look at a study, what it would cost and such, then bring that back to us?
Yeah, so what, Nick will get a couple of quotes like we did last time we used UFS, but we'll come back to council, say this is how much does the rate study would cost us, and then you make a final decision then.
Okay, so do you need a motion for that, or just
probably not. A consensus would be good.
Consensus on that one, but you'll need a motion, obviously, to increase the rates to 3% across the board. Was that what it was?
Yeah, for electric rates.
Do I hear a motion?
I'll make a motion to increase the electric rates 3% across the board for 2025.
Yes.
I will second.
Motion is made and seconded to increase the electric rates 3% across the board.
Kathy Macho,
Yes.
Michael Behrman,
Yes.
Jamie Melky.
Yes.
Tom Graham.
Yes.
Motion carried. Now, by consensus, are we approving me to reach out to these different companies and
Yes.
just see what it costs?
To do the rate study for the water and sewer?
Yes.
Aye, yes.
Sounds good.
Aye.
How about 3H?
Okay, yes. This is more of a formality. We did approve a lease with Ready Rock International, which is part of the Montai family, for the Daifuku building, sorry, the land that the Daifuku building sits on that the city owns. And so this is now the existing tenant, which was Control Engineering, then changed to Webb, and now they changed it to Daifuku Airport Company. They are asking then as a formality for us to assign the lease from them, the current lease from them to Ready Rock, so they are no longer a party to any of the issues that may arise with any of the leases, so. They want their name out of it, and we prefer that as well. We prefer Red to deal with Ready Rock. Yep. They want to be off the hook, and we want to be off the hook. So,
Any discussion on order?
No, you need a motion, I'm assuming?
yeah, we would need, yep.
Okay, I move that we assign the Daifuku lease to Ready Rock.
I'll second.
Michael Behrman,
Yes.
Tom Graham, Kathy Macho.
Yes.
Jamie Miller,
Yes.
motion carried.
All right, last thing, yeah, city manager report, sorry. It'd only be 15, 20 minutes.
That means windy as usual.
Just one real update, we are, City Hall's gonna be closed December 23rd to do it December 25th for the holidays. It's only December 24th and 25th is a holiday, but staff, we're kind of slowed around that time, and City Hall staff has asked if they could just use a PTO day, their own PTO time to not come in on that Monday, so they have an extended long weekend. I don't see it as a problem. I don't think based on past years, our residents have never seen it as a problem because of no one's ever coming in on that time. And this city manager report, I really just did an annual where we are to date on our outreach and communication to the public. And so just some graphs show you here, our website. You can see where it was at 2012 with just about 25,000 visitors to, once we got to marketing our website more, it jumped in 2019 and 2020, and we've had very high amount of visitors come to our website. So that's over 150,000, 160,000 visits, 101,000 unique visits. So for email news notices, we had 0 signed up in 2021. And then as you can see the trend now, we have about 330 people signed up to receive notices via email. So that's another way we outreach to people, and it's been successful. Text message communication, we do have an alert, text message alert system, or people can also text us questions. We have 93 people signed up for that. That started in the January of 2023, so in the course of 2 years, it's slow progress, but people do find that valuable. Facebook, we started that in May of 2019. We're at over 2,500 followers. So another way to reach out to the people and have them know what's going on. Instagram is very similar. We started that in 2019. We're at about over 1,600 followers on that. So, and again, YouTube, where people usually go to YouTube just to watch or rewatch these exciting council meetings. And we did not have that until 2020. I started during COVID, and we have nearly 300 subscribers to YouTube. So just wanted to give kind of an annual overlook at where we're at compared to where we started. And I think we've made a lot of progress in reaching out and communicating with people through different modes. You see what happened to boards. Most of what has happened at the boards in the past couple of weeks, you guys know about, from the planning commission's zoning code discussions, parks discussing fundraising options, DDA's informational meeting, and we'll have an economic development strategy for council work in January. And that's that. And I will work on these mics. I think someone must have adjusted the knobs there, which is really, I can even tell by the way I'm speaking into them. We have a system back there, and if someone messed with the system, it really, yeah, so sure. So I'm sorry about that.
6 city council new and old business. Anything, Michael?
No, sir.
You guys have been sitting long enough?
Yeah. Thanks.
We adjourned then, it's pretty close to 10.
Good job.